I stopped being the one who just had to fight. Like I had people in my corner for once, and I've never had people in my corner. And you know, it gave me the strength to keep going.
Welcome to Fìadh's Focus. Voices leading change.
Right. Morning, Gala. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. I've come in actually a bit cheeky. Some of the team, but thought I had about 5 coffees this morning. I only had a tea.
Oh, really? Really? So you're not just
Berry tea.
berry tea. So no caffeine at all.
We appreciate this time to sit down and have a chat and a catch up. We just to start. I personally. am really grateful for the opportunity and lessons that Fìadh has taught us, not in just in living, but in being quality education facility for her and opening opportunities. It shows me that in my background in primary school teaching, I got them at 5. I got children at 5, 6, 7, whatever. But actually in that ECE space, having Fìadh in with us and seeing her growth, you know, like seeing her standing and walking around and in the water and things the other day and things, you know, I am very grateful for what Fìadh does offer us as a learning opportunity. So we're grateful to talk to you today too.
I appreciate that. Yeah, she's pretty amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, she is amazing. She's an amazing child. And we also, and I will sing out that TV team, they've just done immense things. You know, Heather and them have just, it's just been phenomenal to see that journey. So,
I honestly think that we're really, really lucky because a lot of families don't have that opportunity to have the team that we have behind Fìadh. And it's not just, you know, the daycare. We also have the physio, we have the OT, we have the speech pathologist. You know, everyone is, though, working together. And in the daycare setting, it's not just, you know, her direct teachers, it's management, it's you, it's everyone is coming together to kind of back her up. And, you know, we're really lucky to have that opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. So just talk to us about Fìadh and give us Mum's interpretation of her little character and who she is and just for our own background knowledge.
Yeah, so Fìadh is almost 4. She'll be 4 in April. She's a little girl with Angelman Syndrome. Angelman Syndrome is a neurological disorder that affects balance, developmental delays, you have seizures, non-verbal, you know, there's a 3% chance of her talking, and even then it will just be words. You know, Fìadh experiences probably way more struggles than a typical kid, but one of the great things of Angelman Syndrome is that these are the sort of kids that just smile and smile and smile. And, you know, she perseveres probably harder than anyone else that I know. And she does it with a smile on her face. And it was funny, I was literally talking to someone about it this morning, about how Fìadh put my life into perspective, because Fìadh battles really hard, but she just keeps going, and it makes you realise how lucky that we have it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm just really grateful, honestly, to be her mum. Like, she just completely changed me and changed our lives, but only for the better.
And, you know, it's interesting how much growth we've seen in Fìadh. What are the, you know, we're making a contrast here, but what is it that she does struggle with in that day-to-day that we might just not see as a dare I say, a atypical person?
I think, you know, Fìadh, one of the parts of Angelman Syndrome is that she's missing this protein called GABA, and it's basically the self-soothing hormone. And this one hormone helps you regulate your emotions. So if you get too excited or if you get too anxious, it helps bring you down. And that's one of like the biggest challenges that Fìadh has, is that if she's not constantly medicated, she experiences extreme anxiety or extreme excitement. And the excitement is all fun, But what comes with it is the anxiety. So, for example, Fìadh doesn't sleep, and she often wakes up at 2 a.m. in the night and screams, and she's scared. Or, she really, really struggled, especially in the first 2 years of her life, because Fìadh was a COVID baby. For the first year of her life, it was basically just me and her and her dad.
Yeah, well.
When we started introducing people into our lives, when we moved back to New Zealand when she was 11 months old, she was terrified of everyone that she met, and it took us way longer for her to be able to build up these relationships and build up that trust. And that was actually one of the major things that we found in the centre, was that when Fìadh first came in, she didn't have a relationship with anyone, and she found it so difficult to build those relationships and build that trust. And often when she first came in, she'd only come in for an hour, if that, and by the end of it, she's screaming, and I'd get a call to be, asked to come in and get her. And, that was really hard on the facility, because you guys were really scared if she was going to have a seizure or, what was going on, because you did have this little non-verbal person who couldn't tell you, I've got a sore thumb, or I'm just scared, or I'm hungry, or whatever it was that she needed. And, that's also one of the harder things about Angelman Syndrome, is that they display pain and anxiety and all of these other feelings in a completely different way to a normal person. So, I've had experiences with Fìadh where she's manically happy, but then I find out a couple of days later that she's actually had pneumonia. And there are some things that are really, really difficult as her mum. But like I said, I do try to see all the gratitude, like all the good things in her. And with that, it's taught me, for example, how to be really patient with her, and really truly listen. And that was one of the things that definitely the centre has taught her as well, is you guys have really tried to, come into it with the same sort of patience and tolerance that I do.
Yes, yeah, and in that space there, just hearing that, we started at 1 hour, but now it's but it doesn't. She's knackered. By the time she gets to her, she's just stuffed.
Yeah.
But actually, I just want to highlight the role of your support team, your workers.
Yeah.
We had Paige, obviously, and
now I got Lily.
and yes, and in those scenarios, what's their role for Fìadh's development?
So I guess, everyone we get to come into I'm going to call it the transitional role between the daycare and at home, because we have some people that come in and they just come in to do household management, which is help me clean up, help me do dinner, just help me do the basic things. But the people that come in the people who come into the transitional role are generally people who want to have an ECE background. Yes. Or either do have it or are aspiring to have it. And they're probably our key workers in Fìadh's development. They're so important to, one, give me a break and give me some respite, but, they're the ones that are practicing her how to walk, and they're the ones that are, doing the really simple things like pushing the buttons regularly, doing the sign language. They're the ones that have this knowledge, and when it's not me on duty, they're the ones that can give me the break. And I know that Fìadh is comfortably learning, because Fìadh doesn't learn like a typical kid. A typical kid learns by making mistakes. Fìadh learns by repetition, and that repetition is about 1,000 times. Yes. And so I'm needing every person in her environment to be doing the same things that we're doing.
Routine,
Routine and consistency is what you need. And
it's actually, though, quite incredible as well, just seeing because she's quite an infectious little bugger. The energy that we see on display, and with Paige and Lily, it's just there's also a deep love there, and a commitment, a commitment to her, because you've got to believe that they're going to improve, and that's where I think the New Zealand education system has always done very well. In my time, I started in 03, so in terms of a job, so you got kids into your systems, and then if you don't believe they're not going to improve and do well, then they're already on a hiding to nothing. Yeah. And I really have been proud of seeing what New Zealand education system in terms of inclusivity and just the desire to want to understand has gone on, and seeing it replicated in there, not just with the teaching team and obviously Ashley, but also with your key support workers, the transitional worker. It's just been a phenomenal part or support team just around her to see her development.
Yeah, it is. And we're honestly, like I said, we're really lucky to be able to have a team that's all working together. And like I said, not everyone gets that opportunity. Like there are so many people who, you know, I know with a lot of other families, they, for example, don't have a daycare that's necessarily on board. Sure. And they'll do things like, you know, basically put the kid in a corner with an iPad, or put the kid in a corner and, you know, it's about just managing the kid instead of growing the child.
Yes.
And, you know, we're really lucky that everyone's in the same mindset of us that...
Mate, I don't think it's luck. I think it's your mindset. I've sat with you in that, you know, I've sat with you in a meeting with certain ministries, and no, I don't think it's luck. I think you have manifested this because you want... you've learnt from Fìadh. Fìadh has taught you, and just like she's taught us. I don't think that's not luck. That's intentional. The second thing is you're an expert on a small field, and a very unique field. Yeah. Right? That's not luck. Yeah. That's intellect. Yeah. You know? And we know where we stand with you. Yeah. You know? Sure, we've had our run-ins and things haven't gone well for you, but ultimately we know we're there to argue about the one thing which matters, which is Fìadh. Yeah. I don't think any of it's luck. I think it's manifestation of us all, of the ecosystem, working to support and believe in Fìadh and her development, whatever that may be. Yeah. Because you've got to be, if we lumped it down to luck, then we wouldn't see the growth and change, and we wouldn't see the approach. It just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Yeah. So you got to remove that one, because I think where it really works, mate, is that, like you said, it has Fìadh, like many children, Fìadh has taught us some very, very key lessons, and these are the children that most teachers, I know for myself, my own career, we will carry the lessons through for a long, long time. And it's not for children just with Angelmans. It's any child. No. You know, it is any child in that space. So let's just talk a wee bit, because, you are a bit of an intellect about that, and I have sat in with certain ministries talking about that. And that is, and let's be real, it's clunky, and it is hard, and you've got to, and like I think in that meeting we were fighting for about 2 hours to try and get 2 hours of funding. Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure that was and it wasn't even a day; it was 2 extra hours. I'm sure. It's very clunky, and we've got to make this real for families. Yeah. If you're not advocating like you do, you're not going to get anywhere. Yeah, and you know, I feel really like. Yeah, look, well, I'm going to put it back to luck in this moment, because, you know, it is, I'm lucky in my background. You know, I grew up with, you know, a mother who was a lawyer and a dad who was the managing director of energy companies. So they've really taught me how to negotiate and, like, you know, really pursue things and research and pursue it hard. And, you know, most people don't have that knowledge or the ability to do that, and this is where I think the system really, really fails people, because it shouldn't be that just because you have been educated on certain things, you should get, you know, certain opportunities for your kid. And that's, you know, we fought so hard to get Fìadh what she had, which was initially we started out, and the Ministry of Education, they offer the most for early childhood, which on its own, you know, I'm going to be completely candid, is completely ludicrous, which is 2 hours a day for a high special needs child. Well, if those kids were in primary school or any other environment, they're getting almost full-time care, you know? Yeah. And so it throughout breaks and everything. Throughout breaks and everything. So it's completely ludicrous. You can't just put them in the playground and go off to lunch. Yeah. Yeah. It's completely ludicrous that, you know, they're not doing that. They're not implementing this in daycares, you know. Because my child does have, you know, this is what I fought for, and I just found that was the absurdity of it, is that every child has the right to education, to access the curriculum. That was the dialogue that they used.
but yet you're not creating a safe environment for not just my child, but the other children around.
Yes,
because my child required one-on-one care. And the reality is that's it. You know, she has really silent seizures, and you know, you can't just let Fìadh kind of roam off and do her own thing. We've all seen the copious amounts of sand that she eats.
Yes.
You know, it is.
She loves the sand.
Loves it.
Yeah.
You know, the second biggest after seizures, the second biggest cause of fatality in children with Angelman is drowning. You know,
Right.
like you cannot leave her on her own, and you know, we fought so hard for that, because the reality is she does have the right to the curriculum just as much as any other child. And, you know, I had to keep going.
5 days a week, actually.
5 days a week.
If we can get her to that, that's actually what she's entitled to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Ministry of Education weren't coming to the table with that. You know, they were offering us 2 hours a day. Initially it was less than that.
Yes.
And then we pulled it up and we got an extra like hour a day, and she goes 3 days a week. So that's 3 hours, you know. That was hard enough. But Fìadh's in there from 8:30 to 2 o'clock. There's so many hours that we were missing, and I think it was 16 or something hours that we were missing. And so then what we ended up having to do is we had a meeting with you, Ashley, who's the daycare manager, me, the Ministry of Education, our needs assessor as well, and we basically had this meeting, and the people who ended up picking up the slack, which to be honest, I don't think it should have been them, was the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
You know, and they ended up funding that extra 16 hours, and from my carer support out, like, you know, my individualised funding. And that was to pay someone to go in to be one-on-one with her. You guys still pay that same carer, which is that transitional carer, 6 hours a week.
Yes.
But the rest of the time, we had to fund that. And I know that there are families who don't have the ability to access that. And so, like, I've heard stories of...
Because DHBs are not all the same.
No, they're not.
That's the thing. I think we've got to be clear here. Like a DHB in a more deprived area with higher needs way across far, you know, in Papamoa is probably a bit different than, say, where I'm from, Tokoroa, things like that, where there are higher needs, you know, higher needs at a higher level across the board, meaning the funding is dragged further. Yeah, that was just fascinating to me, because I know what goes on in Tokoroa or places like that. I know. You know, I've worked in South Auckland. I know.
But in Auckland, you're going to get way more hours than you have. Like, at the moment, I'm fighting for that.
It's just the crazy thing. It's the DHB, and it's just it's wide.
It's completely wild, and honestly, there should be some sort of ethics committee on it, because it is. We understand that every child is individual and they all need their certain requirements, but there should be a baseline for every single child with Angelman Syndrome. I know a story of a 21-year-old man, full-grown man with Angelman Syndrome, and you've seen how intense Fìadh gets, her excitement, her power. She's strong. She's strong. Yeah. Imagine that in a 21-year-old man, and this family gets 3 hours a week. It's mental to me, and it's only because I've advocated really hard and this family didn't know the right words to say. And it's the same thing of these other families, you know, with what we got from the Ministry of Health versus the Ministry of Education. You know, I've heard stories of daycares that have, they've made people pay like $1,000 a week just to get their developmentally delayed child in there, because they had to bring someone in. But it shouldn't be the responsibility for that family, and it basically pushes them out. And so the whole point of the system that we're trying to do is that we're trying to make it so that kids can access the community. And that's the whole point of it. But
because that is their right.
That's their right.
Yes.
But then you deal with these battles where you have these people basically telling you, yeah, they have this right, but... And there always seems to be a but, and it's sad and it's depressing, and you know, these families, and I'm included in this, we deal with so much more than any other typical family does. Our lives can grow and our lives can be great, and we're educated like no one else can be, but it doesn't excuse the sleepless nights or
No.
the nights in hospital or,
Yeah.
you know, all of the other stuff that we have to go through. And you would hope that the people, and that's why when I came to Future Focus, it was almost like a breath of fresh air for me, because I stopped being the one who just had to fight. Like I had people in my corner for once, and I've never had people in my corner. And, you know, it gave me the strength to keep going, because it's not just you guys, it was her physio and her OT who were like, this isn't okay, this isn't acceptable, like we're here to support you. You guys came to the meeting, you guys have written letters for me, you guys have done different things, so we can get Fìadh what she can to thrive. And like
Which
truly,
again is her right.
but she truly exceeds our expectations with that support.
And I think that's the reality. Fìadh does exceed expectations.
Yeah.
As of today, she exceeds expectations.
Yeah.
And the real challenge is for us continually is to keep that up.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I worry about the school transition into that space. That's just my own bias. I want to make sure that we want that bridge to be sturdy and strong, so the crossover is very clear, and we can feed as much information through to wherever you choose to go. But
we've only, I'll just sorry, interrupt you. We've chosen the school, and it's only based on the fact that the daycare manager is on the board.
Yes, yeah.
So that
yeah.
I have full trust that Ashley's going to go in and advocate for
and we
Fìadh
know
if I
that will
need.
be a great school. But it is that scenario there. It's not the school and it's not us. It's just the clunkiness. It's just that there's that. And I'm not a person who's usually scared of the unknown, but that it's just clunky. And I know, but I do know the ecosystem right now for Fìadh is very strong. All the parts are working, and it's just a phenomenal space. So let's just quickly shift to. I wanted to bring up something, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons I've had in education. It was at that meeting. You talked about that transition role for you.
Yeah.
You were highlighting the need for yourself to get sleep, to go to the gym, things like that. And it really stood out to me. And I want to say, and I hope you don't mind me saying it, but one thing that stood out to me, mate, was you said, I have to outlive my daughter.
Yeah.
Now, even now, me saying that out loud, because, that being a dad, that's hard even for me to say right now.
Yeah. It's hard for me to hear.
Because I thought to myself, here we are arguing about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And here's a mum saying, guys, do you understand that I have to outlive my daughter? And
I don't have to just outlive it. I have to outlive it in the best health I possibly can.
Yes. While still giving her the best opportunities you can. Your courage was immense to me. That was probably one of the biggest lessons I've had in education in my life. And that was very hard for me to hear. That was very hard. And I was so proud of Ashley and the team. And I've repeated that conversation to people in leadership spaces for so many times, because being a privileged position of being part of Fìadh's journey and your role in it, the lessons we carry into the future, is just immense. So I wanted to bring that up. It is a hard thing to say. And parent to parent, it's a phenomenal thing. But we are so proud of Fìadh and of you. Yeah. And we really appreciate that. But let's celebrate a few key things that Fìadh really does. Let's celebrate. What's some of the real celebrations for Fìadh?
I think, one of the things that she's kind of really strived in this, especially in this last year. And I don't know, it's, I've just got a 5-week-old baby, and it's like she almost knew that the baby was coming and she had to really push herself. But, when she started, she was just crawling,
yes.
She was I don't know, 2 or something like that, and she was only just starting to crawl, and now we can walk, and like, you know, it's one, it used to be that we have to guide her with both of our hands, and now it's just one single hand walking along. Like, that's massive.
Yes.
And it was in such a short amount of time.
And you know what, the playground's, it's not like it's a beautiful, stable piece of land. Like it's you know, I've seen her out there. I was actually moving some stuff into the garage, and she was with Armin all the way down the back, right down by, there was a group of kids playing with something down there. And again, it's not like the ground's perfect marble tiles, and you know, she's having to navigate that with one hand. It's been awesome seeing that.
It's been awesome. And I think one of the other major ones, like there's a couple of little moments, like I had this moment where I came into the centre and I was talking to Courtney, and Courtney was like, "Oh, you never told us that Fìadh could stand up." And I was like, "Excuse me? Sorry." I didn't know that she could stand up. And she was like, "Yeah, she was just standing up with, you know, one of the other children today." And I just was shocked. And, you know, this little girl who Fìadh was standing up with, like, you know, I kind of think of her as Fìadh's little best friend, because as soon as we walk into the centre, this little girl is always like, "Fìadh!" and like gets so excited to see her. And honestly, I felt really like honoured that it was this little girl she was standing up for. And like, Fìadh has friends now, and like, she's only recently started doing this, you know, she's not doing parallel play anymore where she just plays.
Mimics but yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
She now hands you stuff to engage with her, and she didn't do that at the start. And, you know, for me as a mum, that's probably one of, like, the most special moments now, because, for example, I have these moments now where I'll be sitting there breastfeeding, and, you know, Fìadh will come up to me with a toy, and, like, it might just be a fidget spinner. And she just sits there and hands it to me, and I spin it, and she giggles. And, like, she now interacts with me. And she didn't do that 2 years ago. You know, like, I feel so grateful that I'm able to have these little moments that kind of resemble normality.
Of course.
And these were the things that I missed out, and I thought I was going to miss out having a kid with a disability. And I'm now experienced that, and that's because, you know, we do have consistency in our team, and we have a team that is only wanting the best thing for her. And, you know, it's a privilege to be around every single person. And, you know, like this is where I do think we are lucky, because it is, if it wasn't these exact people, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are now. We wouldn't have the support that we need. And like, I've had moments now with this team where, you know, we've cried together, and we've laughed together, and we've celebrated achievements, and, you know, we've had concerns for Fìadh's health, and we've gone through it all together. And, you know, my life can be really isolating, but I have this team that are all invested in the same thing that I am, which is this amazing little girl. And that is, honestly, it's such a privilege. Yeah.
Well, we are massively privileged to have Fìadh. We are proud of her growth. I'm so proud of Ashley and the TV team. You know, I just, even the other day, just seeing Armin laughing and talking with Fìadh.
He's fantastic.
It's just what we're talking about is the right. That she is included in settings as normal as, because normal to her and myself, it is different. Whether we like to say that or not, it is. But it doesn't mean she doesn't get to be included. It doesn't mean she's not a valued part. And actually, what I love about kids, mate, and I remember this, when I was a young teacher and I was going through strife as a young teacher in my personal life, mate, kids, mate, they just keep you straight and narrow. And I taught 5-year-olds at that point, mate, they didn't care about my problems.
No.
They just keep you straight and narrow. And Fìadh is one of those kids in that space. They keep us straight and narrow. They keep us focused on outcomes, and we truly are grateful for Fìadh and for you, Gala, and your support in that space. We've only got a year or so, or maybe a bit more, but you know, we appreciate your honesty and enthusiasm and intellect around this space. So, Gala, appreciate you coming on
you.
this. And yeah, bring on the next year of growth.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gala.